Hello, my YouTube people. I apologize for the wind, but I can't really control the wind, but you might have to listen to a bit of wind in this video. So I just wanted to make this video just showing you guys some more of the custom parts on my bike, like I promised. And yeah, let's have a little look-see at this side of the bike. I don't think I show this side of the bike as often because it doesn't have as much going on. But, you know, the whole bike needs love. So let's just take a minute to admire. All right. So I'm going to start by talking about this wedge down here. So this is my kickstand wedge that was made out of a chunk of an aluminum block. And it's actually, so it's a little different. It's different than like the typical wedges that people would buy normally. So what's different about it is, so these three mounting holes that mounted to the frame that are on like the inside, they're sorry, not on the inside, but the three holes that mount it to the frame here now. So those are drilled so that they're square with the inside edge, the inside of the wedge here, right? So that sits nice and square with the frame. And now you can see here, just if you look at it from the front, you can see just the amount of taper and like the overall thickness of the wedge, and you can see that it tapers to the top here. And so these four holes that actually that mount the bolt holes for mounting the kickstand itself, now these are tapered, or these are drilled, sorry, so that they're actually square with the outside of the wedge, so that the kickstand, normally with like the wedges that you buy, you wouldn't be able to, like these nuts would not sit flat up against the back of the wedge. So you'd have a little bit of a gap there, and it's gonna be putting just like unwanted torque and load on the bolts themselves. So if you look here now from the front, you can see how the back side now, or the inside of the wedge, has been milled, where these four bolts that mount the kickstand go through. So it's milled so that it can actually accept locking nuts. And then these four holes have also been tapped as well, just for a little bit of extra strength and stuff and support in there. But yeah, actually I really like this wedge compared to the ones that are a little more simple. Like, it's still a pretty simple part, but definitely more science has gone into it than those wedges that a lot of guys buy. And yeah, it works, it does the job. And then also here now I've got this my backing plate, and everything on this backing plate was done with a drill press. All these, even the hole for the main shaft support bearing, that was done on a drill press. The only thing that I took to get done was this hole for where the alternator comes through was water jetted out. And yeah, other than that, it was just a lot of hard work and a lot of finagling to get all these holes and stuff all. Well, if you saw the setup we're working with, you'd understand the amount of work that really went into this bike, because it's archaic. This is actually two parts. So I've got this part here that bolts onto the engine case, and then I've got this part here. Let me see here. I've actually got something I can point here with. So I've got then this part here, this whole piece here, that's like the main shaft support bearing carrier here. So you can see now, if you look down in here, that these are spacers. So these are all one piece. I don't know if you can see there. So the spacer here, and there's actually a piece of plate going down, and that's where the other spacer is there. So it's all one big piece that there. And that's to space that out from the tranny. Right, obviously, because you need the room for your chain and for the sprocket and all that. So this is the carrier now for my main shaft support bearing. And in over here on this like steel spacer deal we got going on, so the main shaft, the bearing carrier now bolts to these spacers. So we got some long bolts in there that go right through there into the tranny, and then we've got, this is the front section of this plate where it is mounted onto the engine case. So this main shaft bearing support carrier, is mounted here now to the plate to the backing plate that is mounted onto the case. So making this all kind of one solid unit, I guess you can say. And this front piece of the plate is sandwiched now between this. You can see this is all one part here. I think my main seal's leaking. I think that's what all this grease is. But anyway, ignore it. And yeah, so that's all nice and sturdy now. That's all basically one piece, right? And also another thing now, so you've got these tapered Allen bolts, that are kind of are holding those two plates together, right? So those are holding those together. And then these holes down in here now on this side of the plate here, on the front section of the plate, those are actually slotted, so we can actually move this whole piece, can adjust back and forth now with the tranny if we need to take the chain off or whatever, right? Like if we need to adjust the chain tension or anything like that. Also, while we're down here, my little guy here, won't mind him, his dirty face, he's friend gave them to me, but any guys who know these old turbine top or cow pie, whatever you guys call them, transmissions, they would normally have like that spare piece of linkage that runs from there. So you'd have your linkage normally running down from there, like down, and then like another piece going down there. But as you can see, we've eliminated that other piece of linkage from there. And we just have this one, just this straight one here now, just going to the top. Yeah, so that's kind of simplified that a little bit. Obviously we didn't need the clearance that would have been provided with that other linkage. And yeah, I'll show you guys what I'm referring to for anyone who might not know, who might not be familiar with these transmissions. And also, what else have I got on this side of the bike? So, I did try to write some notes down so I wouldn't forget anything, but I might still forget some things. This is another thing I want to show. So this is actually, was on the engine when I bought the engine. So the guy, I think, who had the engine built originally, had this block made too. So this is this threads into the timing hole there, and then this bolt comes out, so I can actually see all my timing marks on my flywheel and stuff like that. So I can still I static time. I don't feel the need to time it with a light. Like, I know a lot of old guys who've only ever gotten by static timing, right? Everyone's got their own ways of doing everything. Static time, I'm good with it. And I can see my timing marks. I don't need a bunch of oil in my face. Like, you know, so that hole, yeah, it's basically just big enough that I can see the marks on the flywheel to static time. And then obviously we replaced these external drain lines with copper lines just to match the look and all that. Now up here, I've got my my engine mount. Like, basically it's just like one of the typical it's like copied after, yeah. So but my coils all mount to the top engine mount as well. And this piece here, some of you guys might recognize, I don't know, but back in the old days, this my fuel filter here, back in the old days of Volkswagen and Porsche, when they were air cooled, they had as a factory option, you could get like passenger compartment gas powered heaters for the passenger compartment. Yeah. And that's actually what this is out of. So I love it. I think it just totally suits the look of the bike. Not sure if I would ever be able to find another one if I broke that. So let's not break it. Let's not jinx that in any way, right? What else here have I got? So another thing too, I want to show you guys. You guys might notice that my oil bucket doesn't stick out the side like how these FXs normally, like mine's registered as an FX. This is an FX frame, FX oil bucket. But so a lot of these oil buckets, they or the oil buckets, sorry, for these would a lot of the time, or they would stick out the side of the frame there. I wanted my bike to be really nice and compact. I wanted it to be a slim ride, and you can actually see if I stand, can actually see now if I stand to the front of the bike just how tucked in everything is. Very just super slim ride. And that was one of the big things. Like when this bike was going together, I had told my dad, like, I just want everything to fit within the frame as much as it can. And he he did it. There's not much room to play around on here. So the oil bucket now is all tucked in here. So obviously he would have had to move the fill hole, which we did. We welded the fill hole shut now, the original one. So that's all welded up and plugged shut. And now, interesting, if anyone else, you know, wants to modify their oil bucket at all, I don't know, and you need a new fill spout. So this thing, what we used for the fill spout here, okay, what we used for the fill spout there is actually a piece of stock Sportster exhaust. Stock Sportster exhaust, that's the crossover pipe for the stock sporty exhaust. And this, as you can see, almost like it was made for it, the plug for the fill hole, for the plug that came with this tank, for that fill hole, fits like perfectly as though it was made for it. Fits perfectly into that chunk of crossover pipe. So that just worked out great. The oil bucket is kind of just held in a cradle here with just a couple brackets. There's one on this side here, bolted up here to the back of the frame there, and then to the seat post there. So we've got one on this side, and I've got another bracket on the other side there, and then bolt those in, and the oil bucket just sits in there. Wow, I really need to clean stuff on here, hey? So the oil bucket just sits in there, kind of just like in a cradle, and then the straps here, these leather straps and buckles, just kind of hold it in place, more or less. So I think I showed you guys my rheostat, all my switches and stuff in my last video. So this is I've got my VOES up on here right now. So that's VOES. That's it on. If I flip it up, it's grounded. I don't know much about these VOESs. I know that a lot of the vacuum, I don't remember what it stands for, vacuum override. Yeah, whatever. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's the VOES. And I've got that on the switch. So up is grounded, which right now, because I timed it with it on, grounding it advances my timing a tiny bit, and that's why I say I might just want to advance my timing like all together, because I find the bike just responds better with the timing it slight bit advanced. And then I would just probably just permanently ground that at some point. Not anything I need to do soon, it's not critical. And then I've got this dial is off of like an old radio of some sort. I believe I mentioned this in my last video, but I replaced the rheostat, and the new rheostats are basically exactly the same as the old rheostats. And if you can see, I'm gonna take the light on for this right now. I'll turn my lights on. So I'm gonna turn my lights on here. So rheostat is right now set to on. So brightest. The brightest point. Now I'm going to turn it now to dim, so it's actually, I have my headlight on a dimmer, so you can see now it's just dimming down almost to being just super low beam now on there. So that's just a super low beam on there now, and I freaking love it, guys. I'm not going to leave this on for long because I don't want to kill my battery, but I'm going to go back up to the brightest point and then off. So yeah, that's another cool little piece. What else have I got down here? So also now, this is my breather filter here, and then I just made this shield for it just to kind of protect the belt from getting oil shooting up on it. And I just made that out of a piece of brass, some kind of a brass vessel or vase or something that I found in a junk store somewhere. What else have I got here now? So my shocks, a lot of guys have mentioned or noticed that my shocks are just set back a little bit. I've had guys ask me if I extended my swing arm and stuff, but no, we didn't. We actually, the shocks, the lower mounts for the shocks have actually been moved back just about 3 inches, 3 7/8, or 2 7/8 of an inch. Is these lower mounts were just moved back. So if they would have been here originally, and mostly it was just like to lower the bike a little bit for me because I'm short, and looks like I need to do out my drain plug a little bit. It's dripping. So yeah. So that's that. I think I showed you all my tail light. Or I will show you my tail light in this video. And what else have I got here now? I just want to check on my list. So a lot of guys have also just asked, like, hey, did you like build this bike? Like, who built this bike? Who did the work? And all that. And I'm not going to take credit for something I didn't do. It was my design, really. Like, I designed the bike. I did not have the fabricating skills to do the work, to do the fabricating work on here. I've done some things, but the majority of it, that was my dad's skills. Like, my dad's done custom motorcycles for for as long as I've been alive, 30 years, something like that. So my dad did all that real custom stuff on there. Just a couple other little cool things now going on to this side of the bike. I wanted to show you guys just like this body tag off of an old Model A that we had. So I've got this cool little body tag. It's just something fun and cool. I put my penny, this little British half penny, up in here. It's kind of like my Curio bike. I don't know. It's kind of Curio. Got cool pieces on it. And, yeah, so that's that. These are my chain, so my axle adjusters here. So these are like set up to push and pull. And, yeah, so like this is something an old guy showed my dad like back in the day. And, it's just so that you don't have to super tighten your axle. And anyone who like is familiar with these box tube swing arms knows that these slots in here, like paper blowing away. So anyone who's familiar with these box tube swing arms knows that these slots, like, cause some guys tighten the heck out of these axles, and these can squish. These box tubes, like where the slot is here, that can squish if you're gonna over tighten your axle, right? So these dual adjusters, these outer adjusters push on the axle, preventing it from sliding back at all, while these ones pull. So you can have your axle just like moderately torqued, but still like extreme stability with this setup. So this is actually an idea that some old timers showed my dad when he was young, and the old guy, I guess, who my dad knew, had done it on his rigid pan head, and he told my dad that it was just a trick, right, to keep the axle in place in extreme situations like hill climbing or racing or whatever, right? Whatever you crazy old dudes used to do back in the day. Super stable, just a really cool setup. I have a lot of guys in all generations who ask me what those are. Like, they just, a lot of people just haven't seen it, right? Like, it's one of them tricks you kind of got to know some people to learn. I think I did kind of show a picture of my tail light in one of my videos, and I love this tail light. This tail light is made out of a piece of exhaust pipe, and then this was just a brass plate that my dad made the, what do you want to call this part here now? Anyway, this cuff or whatever you would call it here, and he made so I kind of got inspired by this girl's bike who rides a Shovelhead. She's in Japan, and she had a her tail light was kind of like a dual lens tail light, so it was about the same size as this, a lens on the back and then a lens on the front, and there were two different colors. So that's kind of where the inspiration for this thing came from. But rather than doing the double lens, I've got this marble in here. Now I'll turn on my lights real quick just so you guys can see how that all looks. So that's my marble. I call this my dragon's eye, because it kind of looks like, or cat's eye, whatever you want to call it. I like dragon's eye because cats are assholes. But yeah, so that is, let's put my brake on there. You guys can see that. Oh. So that marble actually can be, there we go. That's the brake light. There you go. Yeah, so that marble actually can be switched out, so I could put something else in there if I wanted to. Kind of want to find like an old purple marble, but I don't really go marble shopping very often, so I haven't yet come across one. Also, a little switch box just made out of copper for my switches there, my ignition and my lights. And also another little trick some of you guys might not know about, because I definitely know of guys who don't know about this. So this here is it's a battery ground, just like a jumper cable for the swing arm, right? So because the battery is grounded on the frame, anything you were to ground to the swing arm, like your taillight, for example, is going to draw the current through your swing arm bearings, right? So if you don't have a grounding strap, you're going to be drawing that current through your swing arm bearings, and that's going to just cause that current running through your bearings there can cause little burn marks, right, to happen in your bearings. So it's a good way to prevent that. You know, if like to just keep that in mind. If you want to ground anything on your swing arm, just think about putting a little grounding strap on there. Very simple to do, and it's going to prevent that swing arm bearing from you know, becoming damaged possibly over time from that current causing the burn marks in there, right? So, and another thing, I've got my battery tucked down in here. I had a guy asking me, like, where is your battery? Because he couldn't see it. So yeah, it's tucked down in there, way out of the way. Like I said, I wanted this bike to be compact when we made it, and it definitely is. Like, there is not much room to play around on here. So that is yeah, nice and hidden down there. Please don't mind the filth. I know anyone who rides a Harley understands, like, if your Harley don't leak, there's probably something wrong with it, right? So I showed you guys my my catch tank for my breather there in the last video. I've also got this that's where my oil filter mounts to, this aluminum block here, that my oil filter, so my oil runs through there. It's got some through holes drilled in the top here, and then a threaded piece just in the bottom there, obviously, where the oil filter threads onto. So yeah, nice and neat looking, right? Alright, so let me see what else. I took some notes here because I really didn't want to forget anything. Now, I wanted to show you all, it's gonna be pretty hard to see because it's right tucked up in there. So first of all, then I will show you guys things that are not gonna be hard to see, like just another thing like that we modified a little bit is my kicker pedal. Look how straight that thing is. Pretty damn straight. And I'll pop a picture up in there for comparison, just to show how much we actually straightened that from like the stock. And that was not only because of my legs being short, and this kicker pedal was just always in the way of my leg when it was sticking out, but just kind of just to give everything just like nice and make it all nice and tucked in still, right? These two, like, I've had some guys ask me, like, what are you gonna do to prevent those oil lines and those copper lines from getting hard over time from vibration? So all of these copper lines are very solidly mounted. My dad made all of these like aluminum, they're like a clamping type blocks. So they all have two pieces, front, back, right? And they're all two pieces, and they bolt, so they sandwich the pipe in there. And then most of these blocks, almost all of them actually, except for maybe a few on the bike, mount to something that's actually solid on the bike. So these lines are very solidly mounted. Like, I can't move that. Same with, like, I'll show you some more around here. There's this one here, right? Like, this one is an example of one that's not mounted to anything solid. So But yeah, so these blocks, this one here you can see is mounted to the seat post, sorry, on the frame. So that's all mounted nice and solid. Like, these are all solid. There's one back in there. It's not, so there's another mounting point where I've got my oil lines mounted up there. Now the piece in here, I really apologize for this wind. I hope it doesn't screw this video up. Piece back in here I want to try to show you guys, and I am going to put an overlay in the video just so you guys can get a better look at this. This is my intake manifold. My dad made a bracket here so that my intake, rather than mounting to like the rocker where they would sometimes mount to the rocker box there, or just hanging there like loose kind of basically on the rubbers, it's my manifold. Like, this is the most solidly mounted carburetor on any Harley. I'm sure of it. Like, so let's see in here if we can see. You can kind of see that bracket back in there, right here. You can see a bit of it there, and it goes down and it mounts right up in here. So that's the bottom of it. There's a nut there screwed onto the bolt. Got a really long bolt in there, and this is the back side. So again, another block that's actually mounted to that bracket, and yeah, you can see it's goes right through the engine case there, that bolt, and out the other side. And this bracket, this is going to be hard to see, but this bracket you can see still here, that that's just holding everything nice and solid on there. So you can see the bottom bit of the bracket here where the bolt goes through. Yeah, so and another thing too, so my fender, my rear fender is actually mounted up in a way here so that I can like totally adjust where my fender sits if I need to move my wheel back and forth at all. Got these struts back here, right? But so these are slotted here. These tabs on the fender are slotted here, and so yeah, I can totally just move my fender back and forth as I need to with the wheel. And as you can see, I've just got like a totally even gap all the way around the tire with that fender there, and it works. I really need to deal with some of the things on this bike, but honestly, I just want to ride it, man. You know, if that oil is it, if that oil coming out of the cylinder isn't going to be causing me huge issues, then I'm going to leave it and I just want to ride my bike this summer, honestly. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just to pull your head off and fix your, do whatever you need to do, but I've never done this stuff before. That's why I took my engine to somebody else to have it done, because it's not really, like I could figure it out and I could do it, but honestly, the longer my bike sits here, the more money I'm wasting on insurance, and I don't like them apples. That's that. And I think I talked about my seat in the last video. I'll put a link to that last video down in the description to this video. And you guys can go check it out. If there's anything that you have questions about or ask me questions, feel free to ask me. I try to, if I don't reply to every comment, I read them all. I don't reply to them all because that would just take a whole lot of time. But I do read them all, and I do reply to questions most of the time. If there's a question, I'll try to answer it. So feel free to ask away. I think that is. I will talk to you all later. And catch y'all on the flip side. Yes, I forgot to mention, If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, and if you like what you see, or if you just like me, or even if you don't like me but you like my bike, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment, you know? Let me hear what you gotta say, or read what you gotta say anyway. And yeah, I'll talk to you all very soon. Peace.